Good evening. It's going to be a slow session, but going to be good. I welcome everyone indeed. Thank you for being here. It's Saturday night. I am in the field as I speak to you all live. Yes, I'm in the field because I live in the country. I hear motorcycles going by and everything. Awful. But peace and power. Peace and power to everybody tuning in right now. Peace and power. Welcome back to War Notes. This is episode 85. Tonight, besides the mosquitoes biting me, we are talking about reading. And it's a very important subject. It's more important than what you could ever imagine and what a lot of people can ever imagine. But it's not just books, it's not just paper and ink. We're talking about what reading really means for Black empowerment, right? And how that right to read and understand was robbed from us for centuries. That's why it's important. So if you're just joining, don't scroll. This ain't a game. This is about how the ability to read, think, and educate ourselves is one of the biggest tools we have, and how that specifically that was strategically stolen from Black people to keep us weak, divided, and confused. Let me start with this. Let me start with exactly this. Once you learn to read, you will be forever free, says Frederick Douglass. Quote again, once you learn to read, you will be forever free, says Frederick Douglass, end quote. The reason we were beaten, jailed, and killed for learning to read during slavery. The reason our ancestors had to sneak, our ancestors, yes, indeed, had to sneak and teach each other with the scraps of paper is because reading makes you unstoppable. Reading teaches you how to love yourself, how to know your roots, how to question this system, and how to move differently. That's why it's so important to read. In general, just how to move differently and understand and comprehend everything around you. That's why they were afraid of. They were afraid of Black people learning to read. That was their fear. Because when you start reading, you start waking up, right? Welcome, Dusher Fall. Welcome. Welcome. You are welcomed here indeed. And we know that reading is important, right? But some people don't know how important it is. There's so many things that people don't comprehend. And so if they don't comprehend certain things, they'll act outrageous and take different steps that they wouldn't normally take if they would have read certain information or certain material to learn what they're doing. I'm very well, Deshafar. I'm very well. Thank you. And thank you for being here. Yes, thank you. No, I am not French, actually. I was born in Queens, New York, the Far Rockaways, Queens, New York, Far Rockaways. I live here in Ohio. And my family is Jamaican. So I consider myself Jamaican American, although I was born in New York City. But thank you for asking. But I do speak a little bit of French. I speak Spanish and English both fluently. And I speak a little bit of Arabic, a little bit of Russian, a little bit of Chinese, um, and a little bit of Korean. I speak a little bit more Korean than Chinese, a little bit of Vietnamese as well. But I only know how to say a few things in French, but I speak a little bit of French, a little tiny bit. enough to save my life, I would say. So, oh, Senegalese. Okay, Senegalese. Okay, nice, nice, nice indeed. Nice. All right, make sure you subscribe here, because I'm always keeping up with the war news and everything that's going on to the best of my ability, God willing. So the ability to read awoke inside me some long dormant craving to be mentally alive, said Malcolm X. Now, if you're just tuning in, Black empowerment, why it was denied to us, and how picking up a book can change your entire mindsets, your family, your future, and your soul. Indeed. Now, let me be clear, reading is not just for students. All right, you all, I am back. I actually lost connection there, so I am back. Again, if you are just tuning in, we are talking about why reading for Black empowerment and why it was denied to us, and how picking up a book can change your entire mindset, your family, and your future, and your soul. So let me be clear. Back into action on what we were talking about. Let me be clear. Reading is not just for students. Reading is not just for school. Reading is for the grown man in the barbershop. Reading is for the single mom raising kids. Reading is for the young brother on the block who don't know he's worth more than his sneakers. Okay? Reading is for the little girl who needs to see herself in books, not just TikToks. Right? If you're always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be. Maya Angelou said that. Again, I quote, if you're always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be, says Maya Angelou. So when you read, you're actually learning how to love yourself. Because the more you know, the more you actually understand that you are not a mistake. You are not what they call you. Okay? You are not, I repeat, what the media shows. You are divine. You yourself, you, my listener right now, you are divine. You're actually a little complex as well. And you're rooted in greatness. No matter how which way somebody tries to paint it, you are divine. You're special. You, my listener. Yes, you listening, you are special. And once you understand yourself, you stop being easy to manipulate. Okay? Very important. I quote, the most dangerous creation of any society is the man who has nothing to lose. Again, the most dangerous creation of any society is the man who has nothing to lose. End quote, says James Baldwin. That's why they try to keep us from learning, you guys. Because once we become self-empowered, we no longer settle, correct? We no longer fall for any type of propaganda or manipulation. That's the reason why books have always been hidden from us. Now, When we start to learn more and more in our books, we no longer fall for propaganda, and we also no longer hate each other because we understand the truth. You get it? If you read and you understand the truth, you learn not to hate your brother that's right next to you, because you realize the struggle and you realize how your brother even came up. You realize the struggle. You realize the struggle. Now, if you're just joining, this is War Notes, episode 85, and we're talking about reading as a form of rebellion, survival, and strength. Remember that they made it illegal for us to read in the past. Remember that. So it's time we make it non-negotiable today. Let's make it non-negotiable. Quote, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Again, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can and will achieve. End quote. Napoleon Hill said that. Now, if you want better for your life in general, read. I can't stress it enough. That's how important I think reading is. So do an episode on it. If you want to raise smarter kids, you have to read. Read. I wouldn't be able to do this program for you all if I wasn't a good reader or I didn't understand the material prior to coming online to speak with you all. If I didn't know what I was even talking about, is because I read a lot and then I do my research and prepare these lives for you all. Now, if you want better for your life, you have to read. If you want to raise smarter kids, you have to read. If you want to lead your community, you have to read. Because here's the thing, when you read, you gain vocabulary, and when you gain vocabulary, you gain power. That's what you're gaining. So all the power that you've been looking for and yearning for, it's in reading. I know it seems boring at first, but it's in reading. And when you gain power, you are no longer afraid to speak your truth. Okay? Let me repeat that now. When you gain vocabulary, you gain power. And so when you gain power, you are no longer afraid to speak your truth. That's why reading is so important. This is about self-empowerment, which leads to self-love. That was a big boom. Which leads to self-love. Which leads to real unity. Not fake togetherness. Not viral dances, but deep, authentic Black unity. It's okay. It's okay. Now listen, unity starts with you knowing you. And that starts with reading. It starts with reading. It's very important. So my challenge to you today is this. Okay. Read something tonight. Read something tomorrow. Even if it's one page, read something and then pass that knowledge on. Remember again that we were denied books for centuries. So now we make them our weapons. We make them our weapons. That's a whole part of the Peace Panthers, is to make your books your weapon. Reading is the new revolution. Reading is the new revolution. Now, this is War Notes, episode 85, and I will say this loud and clear. If you can read, you can lead. So let's lead.